Good afternoon. The first item of business this afternoon is time for reflection. Our time for reflection leader today is Mr Ian McGregor, the Chief Executive of Poppy Scotland.
Presiding Officer, members of the Scottish Parliament, I am very honoured to address you on this, the first Remembrance Day in the 4.5 years in which Scotland will commemorate the centenary of the First World War. The war had a catastrophic and transformational effect on Scotland and the world. I personally had one grandfather who served at Gallipoli and in Palestine. Conversely, my other grandfather was a conscientious objector in Glasgow. I'm equally proud of them both, though I confess I know little of what they went through. My step-grandfather, whom I knew well, was wounded 3 times and finally invalided out of the trenches to limp in discomfort until his death over 60 years later. Both of my wife's maternal great-grandfathers were killed in action. The body of one was never recovered. Her grandmother recalled seeing as a child her father's sword being sharpened at war's outbreak. Not a lot of use against shrapnel and machine guns. And most families will have similar histories to relate. Commemoration between now and 2019 will not mean we forget the sacrifices of that generation, though I hope it may help place them properly and, who knows, perhaps finally at rest. In 1918, support and care for veterans and their families left much to be desired. We've come a long way since, though even within the very recent past there have been glaring shortcomings to address. The Scottish Parliament has, in its relatively short life, been both consistent and resolute in seeking to do the right thing by our servicemen and women and their dependents who have suffered as a consequence of their service in all our names. I can but commend and thank the Parliament for this and hope and urge that members ensure it persists in this pursuit of basic decency. The very best way never to lose that resolve, I feel, is perfectly summed up in the closing lines of a short poem by John Pudney, which I propose to read in closing this time for reflection. It refers to an aviator, but it applies equally to those on land and sea. It is called, very simply, For Johnny. Do not despair, for Johnny head in air. He sleeps as sound as Johnny underground. Fetch no shroud for Johnny in the cloud, and keep your tears for him in after years. Better by far for Johnny the bright star, to keep your head and see his children fed. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move to topical questions. Question number 1, John Lamont.